Hi there, Richard Fulmer here, and welcome to something new on Richard's Rock Rambles. So today will be the first in a number of videos. It'll be an ongoing thing where I'm going to have a look at top 10 songs, my top 10 songs of particular bands and solo artists. So guys, please remember this is my own personal choice for a top 10 songs. It's not cast in stone. In fact, I'd like to see you guys put your top 10 down below. It'd be interesting to see what guys' choices are and how they compare to what I am going to throw out there. So the first band we're going to have a look at is probably one of my top 2 bands of all time. That's Black Sabbath. But what I've done is I've kept it a little easier. So what I'm going to do for the first Black Sabbath one is just the Ozzy Osbourne era. So that runs from 1970 to 1978. At a later stage, I'll do the post-Ozzy top 10 songs. Trust me, this was not easy. A lot of these albums I grew up with, I have a lot of affection for. So to choose just a top 10, I was throwing out, I was adding, then I was changing. In fact, if you have to ask me in about a week's time to do this again, my top 10 might be slightly different, apart from perhaps the top 5, which will probably stay the same. So let's get stuck in and let's see what my top 10 Black Sabbath songs, Ozzy Osbourne era are. So we start off at number 10 with a track called Behind the Wall of Sleep. It's the third track on the debut album of Black Sabbath, simply called Black Sabbath, the album that made such an impact when it came out. It's a great track. It's got this sort of strange drum rhythm in it, and you can hear that Bill Ward had a jazz background in that particular track. A lot of swing, and there's a really nice effect on the vocals. When you put headphones on, you get that whole panning effect, and it's almost as if Ozzy's voice has got an echo to it. So this is obviously Ozzy, Geezer Butler on bass, Tony Iommi on guitar, Bill Ward on drums, and Ozzy on vocals as well as harmonica on the first album. So that's my number 10. Number 9, Hole in the Sky from the album Sabotage from 1976. That's the kickoff track on the album. It just shunts out of the gate. That track, when you play that album, crank it up to number 10. You can hear them counting in the song, very softly in the background, and then it just blows the speakers. A great track to kick off an album, and always been one of my favorites, from probably my second favorite Sabbath album of all time. Number 8, War Pigs from the album Paranoid. Paranoid for me, I don't love as much as some of the other albums, but this particular track is the one that really made it for them on the album. A social commentary on, obviously, in those days, the war in Vietnam. In fact, the War Pigs was going to be the title of the album, but then there was a whole dispute with the record company, and they thought it might be a bit too touchy, so they changed it to Paranoid. But nonetheless, War Pigs is the kickoff track. A great track with some great riffs from Tony Iommi. You can already hear that he was going to become the riff master. So that comes in at number 8. Then number 7 from the album Masters of Reality, Children of the Grave. A really heavy, doomy track. That album has got this really doom feel to it. A lot of down tuning, just almost like a sludge, but just great album. And Children of the Grave is a really quite scary track with some great riffs from Tony Iommi, great drumming. In fact, the band were a really on song in those early 70s albums. So that comes in at number 7. Number 6, the title track from the first album, Black Sabbath, simply called Black Sabbath. And I'm not too sure what people were thinking when they first heard that track. This rain and thunder in the beginning, and then that just Tony Iommi just launches into that riff. I think quite a few eyebrows were raised when people heard that for the first time. And that would be a track which they had to go on to play for a number of years. In fact, right up until the end. The end tour, in fact, they still played that track. It's a classic. It's an iconic Black Sabbath track. Number 5, from Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Killing Yourself to Live. And on that album, you can hear Ozzy's voice was at its best. I don't think he was ever able to better that. Maybe still on Sabotage, but he could still hit those high notes. Some great vocals from him on there. Great lead work from Tony Iommi. You know, he's known for his riff, for his riffs, but he was a great lead guitarist as well, had a very distinctive style. And yeah, that's a great track as well, Killing Yourself to Live. Number 4 from Sabotage as well, Symptom of the Universe. Ah, what a great track. Have there been any better riffs than on that particular track? I doubt it. It's definitely in my top 5. And yeah, as I said, Ozzy's vocals still very strong in those days. Cracker of a track. So my top 3 all come from the same album. And it's no surprise, it's been my top Sabbath album for many years. Starting off at number 3 with Tomorrow's Dream from Volume 4, this particular album. It's a second track on the album. Amazing riff. Really interesting lyrics. Geezer Butler was the songwriter for pretty much all of Sabbath's career, well, the early days at least. And he had some great writing. You know, he was known for as being a great bass player, playing along with Tony Iommi because there wasn't a second guitar. He kind of locked in with the guitar. But he was also a great songwriter, some really interesting lyrics. So that's number 3. Number 2, also from Volume 4, Wheels of Confusion, the kickoff track from the first, from that particular album. There's about 3 or 4 different parts to that song, which makes it so interesting. There's almost like a proggy feel to it in parts. Yeah, it's a great way to kick off an album, and it's really interesting. You know, a lot of people know Sabbath just for their sludgy sort of doomy, but they could also mix it up. And on Volume 4, there were acoustic bits. There was this Wheel of Confusion, which had the sort of proggy aspect to it. So yeah, they weren't just a one-trick pony. They could do quite a few things. So that comes in at number 2. And then at number 1, for me, has always been Supernaut from Volume 4. Starts off with those cymbals, and then Tony Iommi just launches into an amazing riff. About halfway through, there's a little bit of a break, and Bill Ward does his thing on the drums. Great drummer. Underrated drummer as far as I'm concerned. And for me, still the best drummer Sabbath ever had. And yeah, it's an amazing track with just one of the best riffs ever written, I think. So there we go. That's my top 10 Sabbath songs, the Ozzy Osbourne era. There are a few honorable mentions. I just want to quickly tell you about them. From the first album, The Wizard, where Ozzy was on harmonica. Also a great track. NIB with that bass intro from Geezer Butler. From Paranoid, Planet Caravan, which is a kind of a psyche kind of song. Fairies Wear Boots. Master of Reality, Lord of this World, Into the Void, and Sweet Leaf, with Tony Iommi coughing as he took a hit on a big joint, as they did back in the day. From Volume 4, Under the Sun, Laguna Sunrise, which is an amazing acoustic, and Snowblind, the song all about a particular kind of sherbet that they were taking in 1972. In fact, when they were recording Volume 4, they had mounds of the sherbet in the studio, and hence they don't really have great memories of doing that album because the brains were a bit fried. From Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, The National Acrobat, Sabracadabra, and Spiral Architect. From Sabotage, The Writ, which is the final track on the album, which is an amazing, very angry track. They were having problems with managers and what have you, lawyers in those days, so that's a song about that. Megalomania and Am I Going Insane, with Ozzy screaming like a banshee. Great track. Technical Ecstasy, Dirty Woman, and Rock and Roll Doctor. Not a very strong album, and those are probably the 2 best tracks on that album. And then the last album they did with Ozzy, Never Say Die. The title track, Never Say Die, Shockwave, Johnny Blade, and Air Dance. Some great... Bill Ward actually sang on, I think, on Air Dance. And some very jazzy feel to that track. Couple of pieces to the track, different sections. Really great. That's actually an underrated album, I think. If you revisit it, give it a good listen. So there we go. My top 10 songs of Ozzy Osbourne with Black Sabbath. As I said, we'll be doing another Black Sabbath with post-Ozzy top 10 songs. That'll be at a later stage. But I think for the next episode in my top 10 songs segments, I'm going to be having a look at Led Zeppelin, and that is not going to be easy. My favorite band of all time. Wish me luck. Guys, have a great day. Enjoy your week. And I'll chat to you soon. Take it easy. Cheers.